Welcome to Digital 100. I'm your host Patrick Wagner, and this is episode number 12. Today I'm going to talk about beefing up your Chrome browser security. It's incredibly important to protect yourself not only through a VPN while you travel through the internet, but it's also important to make sure your browser and the places you're going are protected by using the right extensions and also the right settings within your Chrome browser. A lot of these tools can apply to other browsers, but this episode is specifically about Chrome browsers. I'll cover some other ones as well. I'm very interested in the new Brave browser. I'm going to cover that in the next episode. In this one, it's specifically about Chrome. And if you don't have the Chrome browser, I think you should go download it. At the end of this presentation, there will be a link to the new beta download that's available for Chrome. So there's lots of exciting stuff that's happening with Chrome, and there's lots of great security features. You can clamp down the browser to make it safer for you and more secure. Depending on how paranoid you are, there's a lot of options, including adding a couple of extensions that really make a big difference in how protected you are with your browser. So let's get started with the presentation. So, securing your browser, Chrome security options, episode number 12. So the first thing is Chrome browser security tweaks. So syncing. This is something you do when you log in with your Google ID, and what you should be doing is modifying and unchecking all of these items. Otherwise, all of your information is traveling with you as you log into your browser and are actually on the system there. So uncheck all of those items and you'll be in much better shape. Or make sure you only check the ones you really need and don't take and transfer everything else. Under content settings, so log into your Chrome browser, go under settings, and then you can do a search for content settings and you'll find these options. So adjust your cookies, your JavaScript, your plugins, your locations, and your notifications. Now remember, every time you make a change to your Chrome browser settings to make it more secure, it will affect how you travel through the internet and how sites treat you. So make sure every time you make some changes, go and travel to some of your frequently traveled websites. So that way you can see if you've tripped something up that requires, let's say, JavaScript and no longer works and you can't even log into the site or the site doesn't load correctly. So make these changes, go see what your top sites are, how they reveal themselves once you've made these changes, and see if you have to make some adjustments again. So keep that in mind. Next is there's a few additional ones that are security tweaks that I think are a little bit over the top but are optional for people who are extremely paranoid. So don't allow any site to use a plugin to access your computer under plugins. The other one is cookies to keep local data until you quit your browser. This sometimes can screw with your 2FA authentication because basically it allows the cookies within your browser for that one session, and then once you close the browser it deletes everything. So it's really not giving the continuity required for some of those websites. So keep that in mind, and again, this is only for people who I think are really going to the extreme end. Here's some additional settings for both privacy section and then some additional security settings under the privacy section. I'll list all of these out in the blog as well. So protect you and your device from dangerous sites. Also make sure that send a do not track request with your browser traffic. You have to okay this after you click the checkbox. And then again, like anyone extremely concerned about security and privacy, also uncheck the following under the privacy section. Use a web service to help resolve navigation errors. Use a prediction service to help complete searches and URLs typed. Prefetch resources to load pages more quickly. Use a web service to help resolve spelling errors. Automatically send usage statistics and crash reports to Google. Next, under passwords, I'd remove this setting so that you're not actually saving passwords on your Chrome browser. So you can also disable the enable autofill to fill out forms. And also another option is to offer to save your web passwords. So don't do that. It's not worth it. You're much better off using a third-party password protection program like LastPass or KeyPass. The other one is an extra security precaution under systems. Continue running background apps when Google Chrome is closed. And this really shuts off the notification services that a lot of websites are using now to throw up notifications when your browser isn't open, like Facebook and others. So if you like those, don't turn that off. Next is incognito mode. So there's that mode within a browser in Chrome. At any time you can use incognito mode. So I'm going to show you an example of that just to kind of get everybody to see exactly what I'm talking about. So let's see if I got this. Okay. So if you go up to the menu here, you can click on New Incognito Window. And there you go. And let's get back to the presentation. So that's how you get into incognito mode. And when you're in incognito mode, you basically, none of your activities or history is saved by Google, so it disappears as soon as you close it. So, but it's important to keep in mind that your activity is still monitored and tracked by others. So your ISP, the person who provides you your internet traffic, can see where you're surfing even if you're in incognito mode. So remember that. So use a VPN to solve that solution, to solve that problem. Next, your employer, so whoever has the router that you're using to get through to your internet provider, can also see your traffic. Also, the websites you're visiting can see that you're visiting them, so it's not really blocked, again, unless you're using a VPN. So just some tips on the security provided by incognito mode and how important it is to layer that with a VPN solution. Last are a couple of extensions that I do recommend. I'm not a big proponent of having a lot of extensions in Chrome because I don't trust extensions too much. So the only one out of these that I use now full time is the Privacy Badger. I've used the other two, Ghosteria Privacy Ad Blocker and the J2 Team Security Malware Website Phishing Protection. I've used those as well, but I find that Privacy Badger at this point does a great job of protecting me from all of those above. And then I also use my IP, which allows me to check what my IP address. That just lets me kind of confirm that I'm behind my VPN correctly. So I keep that on. But Privacy Badger does a fantastic job of protecting you while you surf the net. But again, it also overprotects. So at times you may have to go to a certain website and actually shut it off. So if you're surfing a website and you run into the problem of it's clamping down too much and you can't see certain ads, or the page won't load, or there's some code that's behind the website for your login that won't work, you actually go to the Privacy Badger and have to disable it for that site or add an exception. But most of the time you don't need to do that. For some of your main sites, it might make sense. So I recommend Privacy Badger. I would get that. I like the My IP if you're using a VPN, which I highly recommend and you should be using. Last but not least is the new Chrome browser beta version. So you can go to google.com/chrome/beta and download the latest version. So I'm very excited. There's going to be some big changes. I'll go over all the changes once the browser is fully released. But at this point, I recommend, use the regular browser if you don't want to go on to the beta side of things. Apply these security settings. Do everything you can to clamp down your browser. Make sure you use a VPN. Add Privacy Badger. Those things will allow you to at least surf the net and have some semblance of security and not have to worry as much about the malware, the phishing, your IP address, all the things that are attacking you as you surf the internet and you might not know that they're happening. So those are the basics. I recommend those. Get started with that. And thanks very much, everyone. Have a great day.